Bless the Lord, O my soul, blessed art thou, Lord.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Daily Inspiration again. Now for our short lesson together this time, I want to cover this one. What to do when someone places a curse on us. And this is more common than you think. Now just like before, I have a clip of Priest giving us the explanation, but I want to also share this video of a woman who said that someone she dated placed a curse on her. And the only problem I have with this is that instead of going to a priest, she went to a witch for her healing. But anyway, listen to this one first, and then I'll share the clip of the priest after this.
When I was in my early 20s, I got on a dating website called Adult Friend Finder, and that was where I met Chad. We started hanging out, and within no time, me and him had hit it off and we were dating. But within a few days of dating Chad, I started to notice that my health was rapidly declining. It all started with a sore throat, runny nose, coughing, stomach ache, stomach cramps, bleeding, the shits, the sweats, and within a month or so, my damn hair was falling out. I started talking to him in early June, and by the end of August, big patches of hair was falling out in the bathtub. It got so bad that I couldn't even enjoy my time around Chad because when he was around, my sickness got worse. And I thought for a minute maybe he was poisoning me, but I was the one preparing the food. He was never alone with any of my food and drink, so I knew he wasn't poisoning me. So by the third month of dating, I'm now going to doctors and specialists, and no one can figure out what's wrong with me. They've given me pregnancy tests, hormone tests, done blood tests, everything comes back negative. It gets to the point that I can barely get off the couch, my skin is now gray, my eyes are bloodshot, and my teeth are so soft I can wiggle them. Well, I had two neighbors that were originally from Haiti and had moved here a few years back, and they lived 2 houses down, and they came over one day to check on me, and when they walked in, they said, "Oh my God, you look bad." So Marcus's wife, Shayla, starts waving her hands around me, and I couldn't understand what she was saying, but he told me that it was a prayer and she was trying to heal me. And she stands up, and she looks at him and goes, and then he says, "Look, you need to come with us to Granny's house now." They had to peel me off the couch and walk me to the car just so I could move because I could not get up on my own. I was so weak. So I go with Marcus and Shayla to Marcus's granny's house, which was in the deep woods of South Carolina. As soon as I got out the car, Marcus's granny was standing there and she had this long cigarette in her hand and she said, "Whose husband you been sleeping with?" I said, "No way, I don't mess with married men." She said, "Well, I don't know about all that. But that man you been seeing, he's married." She said, "I can smell that man's guilt all over you, and it's strong." I said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know he was married." She said, "Well, sorry doesn't change the fact that he's spiritually connected to someone else, and she wants both of you to suffer." She said, "Are you trying to get pregnant?" I said, "No, ma'am." She said, "Well, if you don't stop sleeping with that man, you're going to be pregnant in the next 2 weeks, and I see a very tragic ending for you and that child." She said, "You need to understand, the more you're with him, the worse off you're going to get, because this woman isn't going to let up, and this curse or hex is going to get a lot worse, possibly even dangerous." I said, "Was there any way we can stop whatever they're doing to me?" She said, "Yeah, I can help you, but you're going to have to listen and do exactly what I say." I said, "Thank you. I'll do whatever you say. I just want to feel better." Hell, I was about to puke right there in her yard. So we go in her house and she tells me to take off my shoes and socks and has me put this creamy stuff on my hands and feet. She had me sit down while they prayed over me and they lit this stuff, and then she gave me a cup of liquid to drink and I chugged it, and I swear in a matter of minutes I felt better. Oh, and she took a mason jar and said she was going to catch whatever this thing was that woman had put on me and she would keep it in that jar. I said, "Thank God, because I don't want it." She got that close to my face and said, "Do you want to live? Do you care about your life?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "Well, when you get home, you call that man and you tell him you don't never want to see him again, because if you don't stop seeing him, you're going to be dead in 6 months." She said, "Do you got that?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. As soon as I get home, I am dumping him, I promise." Granny sent me home with 2 cloth bags, one to keep on me at all times and one to put in my house. I'll never forget how hungry I was when I left. I had not had an appetite like that in months, and I was so glad to be able to eat again. On the way home, Marcus said, "Whoever did this to you must not know what they're messing with, because we all know you don't put dark thoughts or prayers on innocent people, because it always comes back on you and your family." So Marcus and Shayla bring me back home, and I'm already feeling better at that point. I get on the phone, I call Chad, I say, "Look here, I know you're married, I know you've been lying to me. I don't care, I'm not mad. Just you and your wife, leave me alone." Chad said, "Whoa, how did you know about my wife?" I said, "Don't matter, just do not contact me ever again." And I hung up. The next day, I get a knock at my front door, and when I open up the storm door, there's Chad. And I swear to God, as soon as I saw his face, my stomach started cramping and I damn near shit my pants. And I knew right then, just like Granny said, the more I'm around him, the sicker I'm going to get. So I slammed the door in his face. And what's crazy, within 6 months, him and his wife had lost everything. Their house, their nice cars, their business, all of it. Now, I know a lot of people call Granny crazy and think she makes stuff up, but I believe her, and I think she saved my life that day, because I know how I was feeling when I got there and how I felt when I left. Before this happened, you could not make me believe in hexes, curses, or karma, but when she healed my body like she did, I'm a full believer, honey.
So this time, let me share with you this clip of Father Winston, the exorcist from the Philippines. And in this clip, I asked him about what my uncle should do because my uncle had a curse placed on him by his wife. And the cursed item was apparently placed in the mattress sewn within. Anyway, enough of me. Listen to this.
Curses, remember, curses, even though they are made, does not necessarily mean or automatically mean that they will have an effect, because God may not allow it. So it will not immediately have an effect. Otherwise, if that were the case, that any curse sent will always have its automatic effect, whether you are in the state of grace or not, then it means that all of us are affected by the curse, which is not the case, because it is always God who is in control. So nothing happens, nothing, the evil one cannot do anything unless God permits it to happen. So that is our first principle, that is our first understanding. Now, if indeed it will have an effect on a person, it only means that the person is already predisposed to be affected. In other words, think of it as a sickness. We are surrounded by bacteria, by virus all over the place. But it doesn't mean that we're affected by it, simply because perhaps our immune system is very strong, and therefore we are not affected immediately by this kind of this contagion. But if our immune system goes down, we become compromised, then we are weak, and so the virus and the bacteria can attack us. And the only way to prevent that is through medication and to strengthen our immune system once more. It's the same thing with these curses. If ever it has an effect on a person, it is because the person is already weak or predisposed to it. So when you said, in this case of your uncle, affected by it, if the curse had an effect on him, it means that he was already predisposed to it one way or the other. In other words, his protection as a Christian and as a Catholic has been weakened by something, by something. And you can say, what would be that something? It can be his moral life, his moral life. It can be his, his psychological makeup, meaning perhaps he has trauma, he has anger, he has resentment, he has unforgiveness, or he has exposures and practices that are not pleasing to God and are cultic in nature, meaning, let's say, superstitious practices, superstitious beliefs, or going to occult practitioners, or wearing talismans, etc. So those are contrary to God's will, contrary to God's law, thereby making the person vulnerable to extraordinary attacks of the evil spirit. So when you ask that, what can he do? The first question is, ask why he would be affected by the curse. Why would he be affected by it? So if one finds that there is the vulnerability in any of the what we call spiritual openings, the spiritual openings of mortal sin, habitual mortal sin, or a sinful lifestyle, a sinful life, unrepented sinful life, that's the first one, or deep emotional negativity because of a trauma, leading to strong negative emotions like hatred, anger, resentment, lust, envy, jealousy, bitterness, greediness. Those are very deep, strong emotions, making a person act often contrary to God's will and God's law. And then the other one is an idolatrous practice connected with superstitious beliefs, and also to talking to spirits. So if there is in the family, direct line in the family, sorcerers or healers or occult practitioners, that may have an effect on the person, especially if the person, when he was growing up, he was exposed to certain practices that are occult or idolatrous in nature, then that makes the person vulnerable. So that when a curse is sent, the curse will have an effect because the person is already vulnerable to it. So the way to overcome that is know the cause of the opening, and close those openings. If it's sin, honest to goodness confession, really detailed confession, and of course a renewal of life. One needs to live really a life of grace, sacraments, real prayers, devotedness. And if one has deep emotional issues, then one may need a psychologist or a counselor to iron out those issues, to allow forgiveness, to allow the person to love again, to allow the person to heal the inner wounded. And if one also has occult practices, to renounce occult practices, to destroy occult objects, and to confess those idolatrous and superstitious beliefs and practices. And if one has ever talked to spirits, meaning the person consulted spirits, etc., even though perhaps when he was young or still a child, those have effects. So that too needs to be renounced. The relationship between the person and the spirits have to be cut, renounced, confessed, so that grace can build on the person. So once grace is being built up, then you become stronger and are able to resist the effect of the curse. And then if you find the cursed object, like what you said, then you destroy the cursed object. You destroy the cursed object, and with a prayer, not just destroy it, but there are special prayers for disposing of cursed objects, so that the person may be protected from it. So that is the basic, that's the basic fundamental remedy when it comes to curses. Now, if there's already an effect on the person, you can also go for deliverance prayers or exorcism prayers to Catholic priests who know how to do these things. Because not all Catholic priests know how to do deliverance ministry prayers, and not all are exorcists as well. So it may be necessary to approach a priest that knows how to deal with this kind of cases.
Well, I guess that is all for the video this time. Again, thanks so much for your time spent here with us, and hopefully all of you have learned a lot from this one. If you feel like supporting the works here, please consider supporting us on Patreon or making a donation to PayPal, because I'm trying to reduce the reliance on the ads in the videos. But if you can't, still I want to thank all of you for your continuous support, contributions, and prayers. Much love to all of you, and may God bless you.